The movie Green Book opens in the Bronx, New York in 1962. Meet Tony Vallelonga, better known as Tony Lip, a big-hearted, fast-talking Italian-American who works as a bouncer at the famed Copacabana nightclub. Tony's nickname, Lip, comes from his uncanny ability to talk his way out of or into just about anything. He's the kind of guy who could probably sell sand to a beachgoer. When we first see him, he's expertly handling a scuffle at the club, showcasing his street smarts and his knack for defusing tense situations with a mix of charm and brute force. When the nightclub temporarily closes for renovations, Tony is left unemployed. He needs to find work quickly to support his wife Dolores and their 2 children. The film establishes Tony's character early on. He's devoted to his family, but harbors casual prejudices, as demonstrated when 2 African-American repairmen come to his home. After they leave, Tony throws the water glasses they used into the trash, a moment that foreshadows his journey of personal growth. Tony, being a hustler without a job, looks for ways to make ends meet, even entering a hot dog eating contest, which he wins, of course. This is Tony we're talking about. But eating hot dogs for money isn't a long-term plan. So when a friend tells him about a driving job, he jumps at the chance. The job interview takes Tony to Carnegie Hall, where he meets Dr. Don Shirley, a world-class African-American pianist. Dr. Shirley lives in an apartment so extravagant it looks like it was decorated by royalty, complete with a throne-like chair that seems to scream, "I'm too classy for this world." Shirley is everything Tony is not: cultured, reserved, and disciplined. Shirley explains that he needs a driver and bodyguard for an 8-week concert tour through the Midwest and Deep South, where segregation and racial hostility are rampant. Tony thinks to himself, driving and protecting a guy who plays the piano, how hard can that be? The job pays well, but Shirley makes it clear that he expects professionalism and adherence to his rules. No smoking, cursing, or eating in the car. Tony, who is rough around the edges and not used to taking orders, is initially skeptical about working for a black man. However, after negotiating a generous salary, he agrees to take the job. Before hitting the road, Shirley's record label hands Tony a copy of the Negro Motorist Green Book, a travel guide listing safe hotels, restaurants, and services for African-American travelers in the segregated South. Tony, who hasn't thought much about racism beyond his own biases, is puzzled by the necessity of such a book. Shirley, on the other hand, is all too aware of the challenges ahead. As the journey begins, it's clear that Tony and Shirley are as mismatched as 2 people can be. Tony is loud, crude, and endlessly talkative, while Shirley is quiet, refined, and prefers silence. Tony chomps on greasy fried chicken while driving, much to Shirley's horror. "You're getting grease on my car," Shirley says with a raised eyebrow. "Relax, Doc, this is Italian hand sanitizer," Tony quips, licking his fingers. The cultural clash is immediate, and the road trip is off to a rocky start. Their first major stop is in the Midwest, where Shirley dazzles a wealthy, mostly white audience with his piano skills. Tony watches from the sidelines, genuinely impressed. "You're like a magician with those fingers," he tells Shirley later, to which Shirley dryly responds, "It's called talent, Tony. You should try it sometime." Despite the applause Shirley receives on stage, he's treated as a second-class citizen off-stage. He's forced to stay in rundown motels and is barred from eating in the same dining rooms as the white patrons. Tony, who initially brushes off these indignities, starts to feel anger on Shirley's behalf. Tony introduces Shirley to some of life's simple pleasures, such as eating fried chicken from a roadside stand. Shirley hesitantly tries it for the first time, a moment Tony treats like a rite of passage. "You're holding it wrong," Tony exclaims, showing Shirley how to eat with his hands. Shirley grimaces but takes a bite, and Tony watches with glee. "There you go, now you're one of us." Shirley, deadpan, replies, "One of what exactly?" As they travel deeper into the South, the racism becomes more blatant. In one town, Shirley is told he must use an outdoor outhouse instead of the indoor restroom at a mansion where he's performing. Tony is furious. "You play Mozart for these people, and they treat you like dirt." Shirley responds with quiet dignity, reminding Tony that maintaining composure is often his only weapon against humiliation. Their dynamic begins to shift when Tony finds Shirley writing letters home to Dolores. Upon reading one of Tony's poorly worded notes, "Dear Dolores, the weather is good. I ate a sandwich today." Shirley can't help but laugh. He offers to help Tony write more meaningful letters. Shirley, who is highly educated, teaches Tony how to write more meaningful and romantic letters to Dolores. Shirley's influence turns Tony's crude notes, turning them into poetic declarations of love that leave Dolores swooning. "I didn't know I married Shakespeare," Dolores gushes in her replies. Tony beams with pride, not realizing Shirley is doing most of the heavy lifting. Later, while driving on a desolate southern road, they are pulled over by two racist police officers who insult and harass them. When Tony stands up for Shirley, both men are arrested. At the police station, Shirley calls none other than U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, who intervenes to secure their release. Tony is stunned. "You've got Bobby Kennedy on speed dial. You should have started with that." This moment deepens their bond, as Tony realizes the immense strength Shirley has had to summon throughout his life. Shirley finally opens up to Tony about his internal struggle. He admits that despite his wealth, talent, and success, he feels as though he doesn't belong anywhere. He tells Tony, "I'm not accepted by my own people because I'm too refined, and I'm not accepted by white society because I'm black." Tony listens, genuinely moved by Shirley's vulnerability and the emotional burden he carries. The final stop on their tour is in Birmingham, Alabama. Shirley is scheduled to perform at an elite country club. Despite being the star of the evening, he's told he cannot dine in the same room as the white guests. Shirley, fed up with the constant disrespect, takes a stand. "If I'm not good enough to eat here, I'm not good enough to play here." He and Tony leave the venue and find a small black-owned restaurant where Shirley finally feels at ease. Surrounded by warmth, live music, and good food, Shirley lets his guard down and enjoys the moment. As the tour ends, Tony and Shirley drive back to New York, determined to make it home in time for Christmas Eve. During their journey, they encounter a snowstorm that slows their progress. Despite the treacherous conditions, Tony insists they push through so he can be with his family for the holiday. They arrive in New York late at night, and Tony returns home to a joyful reunion with Dolores and his children. Meanwhile, Shirley returns to his empty, luxurious apartment. He sits alone, contemplating the solitude of his life. After some hesitation, he makes the bold decision to visit Tony's home. When he arrives, he is greeted warmly by Dolores and embraced as a friend. The movie ends with Shirley sharing a Christmas meal with Tony's family, a symbol of how far their friendship has come. The film ends with a postscript revealing that Tony and Dr. Don Shirley remained close friends for the rest of their lives, passing away within months of each other in 2013. Green Book is more than just a road trip movie. It's a journey of self-discovery, empathy, and breaking down barriers. It sheds light on the realities of segregation while demonstrating how human connection can bridge even the widest divides. Through humor, hardship, and heartfelt moments, Tony and Shirley teach each other valuable lessons. Shirley learns to loosen up, and Tony learns to open his heart and challenge his own prejudices. Their story is a testament to the power of friendship and the importance of standing up for what's right, even if it means eating fried chicken with your hands along the way.